We are to magnify God. Psalms 34:3 says, "Oh, magnify the Lord with me." Psalm 69:30 says that I will praise the name of God with song. I will magnify him with thanksgiving. You can look at Acts 10:46 and it says that they spoke with new tongues and magnified God. Magnifying the Lord. Are we to magnify God? Yes, absolutely. But why are we to magnify God? He's great. He's awesome. He's mighty. Or what can we do to magnify God, to make God mightier than he is? You can look at Deuteronomy 10:17 and it says, "For the Lord your God is God of gods, Lord of lords. The great God, awesome and mighty is he, who shows no partiality nor takes bribes." So if he is great, awesome, mighty, God of gods, Lord of lords, King of kings, how can we magnify him? Well, the answer lies in the magnification process. You can look at microscopes and you can look at telescopes. They both magnify, but they do it very differently. So take a microscope, for example. Here's a microscope. You're going to put something very small in the bottom here, and then you're going to magnify it to appear larger than it really is, so you can see it. So a microscope takes something very small and magnifies it to appear larger than it really is. A telescope is very different. A telescope takes an item that is far away. That's the Greek meaning of telescope. Tele is far. It takes something that's far away that appears small to the natural eye and makes it appear larger as it really is. So the stars in the sky, you take a telescope and you look at the stars, what you're seeing is not larger than what the star really is. That telescope is helping you to see the star as it really is. And that is what we are to do. That is how we are to magnify God, to magnify the Lord. And we're to do that to the people in this world that are not walking with God. You know, most of us know John 3:16 and 17. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him." But if you read on down in that passage in John chapter 3, you can look at John 3:19, and it says, "And this is the condemnation, that the light came into the world, and that men loved darkness rather than the light, because their deeds were evil." Men are choosing to be in darkness because their deeds are evil. They're separating themselves from God. Isaiah 59:2, it says, "Your iniquities have separated you from God, and it's your sin that has caused his face to be hidden from you." They're separating themselves from God. They're not with God. You can look at Ephesians 4:18 and 19, and it says that they have alienated themselves from God because of the ignorance that is in them, because their hearts have been blinded. They're blinded hearts. Why are their hearts blinded? Well, 2 Corinthians 4:4 says that the God of this age has blinded the minds of those who would believe, lest the light of the gospel of glory of God, which is the image of God, would shine upon them. It's Satan. Satan is the God of this age, and he's blinded the minds of those who would believe. That way they're not in the light. That way they're not walking with God. So if they're blinded, what's the answer? Well, we're the answer. We as Christians who are walking in the light magnify God. You know, we act as telescopes to them. Think of it like a side mirror on a car. You're driving down the interstate and you look in the side mirror and it shows you what's traveling behind you. But what's the small print that it says there? Objects in mirror may be closer than they appear. The world is walking in an opposite direction from God. They're looking in their rearview mirror, their side mirror at God, and God is appearing smaller. He's appearing as a small star in the sky to them. But to us as Christians who are obeying the Word of God, see God as he really is. We need to be the telescopes to those people so they can see God as he really is, to magnify him to those people. We do that through obeying the Word of God. As we do the Word of God, he manifests himself to us. John 14:21 says, "He who has my commandments and keeps them, it is he who loves me. And he who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love him and manifest myself to him." So as we do the Word of God, he manifests himself to us. As we do the Word of God, the will of God, Hebrews 10:36 says that after you have done the will of God, then you may receive the promise of God. So as we do the Word of God, he manifests himself to us. He fulfills his promise. You know, you can look at Psalm 50:15. "Call upon me in the day of trouble. I will hear you, I'll deliver you, and then you shall glorify me. So as we do the word of God, as we do his will, he will fulfill those promises. He will manifest himself to us. He will deliver us as we go to him, seek him. Then we're to glorify him. We do that by telling others what he's done for us, praising God, giving him the glory. That is acting as a telescope to the world. That is how we magnify God to those who are unbelieving or who are blinded by the God of this age, who are walking in ignorance. And I'll take it even a step further. What do you do if you're walking in ignorance? You can look at Ephesians 5:17 and 18. And it says, do not be unwise, but understand what the will of God is. Do not be drunk with wine, which is dissipation, but be ye filled with the Spirit. So do the Word of God, but be filled with the Spirit so that you can have revelation on what the Word of God says, what it means. That way you can get understanding from the Word. That way that his Spirit can lead you, it can guide you. So be filled with the Spirit. Do the Word of God. Then you can act as a telescope to the world to magnify him, to show what God has done in your life so that others can see Christ's light living in you, and then they can see who God really is, because they've distanced themselves from God. They're looking in their side mirror, their rearview mirror, and they're seeing God as someone small, but He's awesome, he's mighty, he's magnificent, he's the Lord of Lords, King of Kings, Almighty, great and God. That's who we're serving. And that's what we need to paint the picture for people to see that are not walking with him, because they see him as someone small, but he's not. And that's how we magnify God, by showing the world who he really is. You know, Revelations 12:11 said they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimonies, and they did not love their lives unto death. The word of our testimonies. As you do the word of God, you'll receive the promises of God, but you'll have testimonies, and you can share those testimonies with the people to show those people who God really is. That's magnifying God. So do the word of God. Do the word of God. Be filled with the Spirit. Be led of the Spirit. And do not be timid or hesitant when the Lord leads you to share your testimonies with other people. That is magnifying God to those people who may not really know who God is, but you're letting them see through the lens of your telescope who God really is, because they don't know, because God, the God of this age, has blinded the minds of those who would believe. So be a telescope to the world. Do the word of God. Be led of his Spirit, and magnify the Lord.